Sri Krishna Parabrahmane Namaha. Sri Sadguru Paramatmane Namaha. Sarva Maharshibhyo Namaha. Atah Chaturtodhyayaha. Fourth discourse, Gnana Yogaha. Gnana Yoga. The title of the discourse. This discourse is entitled The Yoga of Knowledge, Gnana Yoga, because it deals with the investigation of supreme wisdom. In this are mentioned Gnana Tapas, Gnana Yagna, Gnana Nauka, Gnana Agni, Gnana Kadga, and all that has reference to knowledge and understanding of the self. The significance of spiritual knowledge and the qualification of a man of knowledge are elaborately stated in this discourse, and so it is entitled Gnana Yoga. How the discourse is connected with the previous one. The highest truth is that by desireless action the mind is purified, and in the pure mind the self is reflected clearly, and man attains liberation, moksha. In the discourse of Karma Yoga, all the principles and doctrines of desireless action are discussed and declared by the Lord. The present discourse leads to the highest wisdom. So, the Lord here propounds the theory and practice of self knowledge. Though knowledge is its main theme, mention is made of action, karma also. The Lord starts discourse by narrating how he taught the yoga of action, which leads to knowledge, Gnana, to Vivaswan, sun god, and how it was handed down to Manu, and from Manu to Ikshvaku. Sri Bhagavanuvacha. First sloka. Imam vivasvate yogam proktavanahamavayam vivasvan manave praha manurikshvakave bravit. The Blessed Lord said, this imperishable yoga of action and the wisdom arising from it I taught to Vivasvan, the sun, at the beginning of the creation. Vivasvan taught it to his son Manu, and Manu to his son Ikshvaku. Commentary. The Lord at first taught the secret of Nishkama Karma to the son, and through him the emperor saints learnt it. By the power of this yoga, the mind is purified and the self is realized. All those who practiced this yoga became sages and attained freedom and perfection. Though they may belong to different strata of society, rich or poor, all of them attained the highest reward of truth and perfection. Imperishable means the yoga is imperishable because as long as the universe lasts, work in some form or other has to be done, and desireless work is the direct road leading to moksha. At all times, under all circumstances, desireless action is the law of spiritual life, and out of it arises knowledge of the self. So the yoga is imperishable. As long as mankind exists, this law holds good as the direct path to emancipation. Question. What is the merit of Nishkama Karma? Answer. It is imperishable and yields the highest point of liberation. Question. How did it spread in the world? Answer. The Lord taught it to Vivaswan the sun at the beginning of creation, and Vivaswan taught it to Manu, and Manu to Ikshvaku. Second sloka. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashtaha param tapa. Substance. O Arjuna, the royal sages know this yoga, which was handed down in regular succession from generation to generation, but by long lapse of time, this yoga was lost to the world. Commentary. Royal sages, kings who knew Brahma Vidya, are called royal sages. They are Gnanis as well as rulers who possessed royalty and wisdom together. In earliest times, several kings and emperors were endowed with self-knowledge. The term Rishi is a title. Anyone can acquire it. Even an ordinary man becomes a Rishi when he comes to possess Atma Vidya. So, the man who conquers the senses and mind, who is able to practice Nishkama Karma, and who has attained a glimpse of the Supreme Self, is a Rishi. We have to understand that in former ages, kings were the real possessors of Brahmavidya. This proves that worldly life is not in any way a barrier to Atmavidya. Let us imagine the life of a king in former times. He was the supreme power of the state and he was responsible for the administration of the whole kingdom. How many cares and anxieties had he in discharging his royal duties? And yet it was the king who acquired and possessed the highest wisdom. The practical application of Vedanta to actual life was the contribution of these great monarchs to the world. Let us hear the words of Swami Vivekananda on this point. In various Upanishads, we find that the Vedanta philosophy is not the outcome of meditation in the forests only, but that the very best parts of it were out by brains which were busiest in the everyday affairs of life. We cannot conceive any man busier than an absolute monarch, a man ruling over millions of people, and yet some of these rulers were deep thinkers. Arjuna comes of a noble family of royal sages, so it would not be difficult for him to tread the path of the ancient kings who were adepts both in worldly matters and spiritual knowledge. It does not mean that others are not qualified for this yoga. In fact, the Lord's message is for people who are engaged in the different avocations of life, like teachers, politicians, administrators, agriculturists, or shopkeepers, etc. Very often we hear people brushing aside anything of spiritual knowledge as an obstacle to their worldly activities, which they say are necessary for the maintenance of this life. This verse condemns such an apathetic attitude to spiritual life because it is pointed out that monarchs have practiced this yoga with great advantage to their spiritual and practical life. Was lost means this does not mean that karma yoga as a spiritual path was completely destroyed. Some incidents might have caused neglect of this yoga for a time being, but it cannot be destroyed as it is imperishable, avyayam. Just as the Lord is eternal, even so the dharma established by him is eternal. Third sloka. स एवायं मया तेद्य योगः प्रोक्तः पुरातनः भक्तोऽसि मे सखा चेति रहस्यं हेतुदुत्तमम्. Substance. This same ancient yoga has now been taught by me, for you are my devotee and friend. It is indeed the supreme secret. Commentary. The spiritual path of Karma Yoga is not a new invention. It is an ancient path, but owing to the change of times, it was covered up and neglected for some time. But it is imperishable. When spiritual dharma suffers decline, the Lord incarnates himself to re-establish it. Great spiritual men like Shankara and others come into the world to reclaim the declining dharma and re-establish it in the world. This same ancient knowledge is now taught to Arjuna by Lord Krishna. Why should the Lord choose Arjuna only to be the recipient of this knowledge? This is answered by this verse. Arjuna was a devotee and a friend of the Lord. Therefore, the supreme secret was revealed to him. Whoever loves the Lord is his friend and devotee. On him the Lord bestows supreme knowledge. So one should acquire the faith and devotion of Arjuna, and to such a man the Lord himself offers all the secrets of spiritual knowledge. The Lord has no attachment of friend or foe. Whoever loves him receives his love and compassion. Arjuna's faith in the Lord has won for him a place in the heart of Krishna, and hence the divine message was offered to him. Best secret means the spiritual path of Nishkama Karma is not only a secret but a royal path to knowledge. Such a precious secret cannot be thrown away carelessly on indifferent people who can neither understand it nor wish to practice it. The right man should be chosen to communicate the secret of perfection. Arjuna was the right man because he had devotion and love for the Lord. Question: what is the excellence of Karma Yoga? Answer: it is the ancient path of wisdom. It is the supreme secret. Question: why did the Lord teach it to Arjuna? Answer: because Arjuna was the devotee and friend of the Lord.